How to find and wholesale government lists. What is up, guys? Zach Ginn here.
Rick Ginn here.
And in today's video, we're going to show you how to find and wholesale the best list possible for wholesaling real estate. Yes, there is not one better way to find wholesaling real estate deals, and heck, your first wholesaling real estate deal, than going out here and going after government lists. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. If you're able to get free lists from the government that have the most motivated sellers possible, guys, these are lists that the wholesaling softwares can only dream of having. And as somebody that owns a real estate wholesaling like software company, but let's get out of that, right? Because that whatever software I have or any software, they can't get this data. This is data that is so valuable that the other wholesalers can't get it, but it is being pulled every single day. There's new ones coming up, and by far, from the 2,500 wholesaling real estate deals that I have done and the ones that I continue to do, the ones that make me the most money, the 70, 80, 90, 100K pops, all are from this list. And what we're going to do is systematically break it down step by step today based off of the government list that you're going to get, how much resistance you're going to get on that list, how to pull the list, how to request it, if it's public record or not, and what the right marketing channel is going to be. We are not leaving one stone unturned on exactly how to pull the best free list possible. So if you have no money and you want to get rich wholesaling real estate, this is it. This is the video for you. Now, I want to make this very, very, very clear. This is a video that if me and Rick were not alive right now, if we were not in this, if we were not existing right now, you would not know about this. This would be secret. This would be behind a $15,000 wholesaling course program. This would be super, super secret. And this would be information that is locked away forever. But me and Rick got rich off of these lists, and we continue to get rich off these lists. So we are going to be the only source to get this secret knowledge that it's insane to me that nobody else in wholesaling talks about. Which means if you're watching this, you have an opportunity to get a list that nobody else. If you are not watching this video, or if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, or you go through a course or anything like that, you do not know this even exists. This is the craziest thing, all right? This is the craziest thing. If you don't watch our content, you don't even know this exists. And most wholesalers, I'd say, they still don't subscribe to us, and they eventually will, but like, it's insane. So you guys are getting secret information and secret knowledge for wholesaling success that we're gonna break down right now. So we got a lot to talk about today. So guys, let's break this all down.
Government list, as we've coined the phrase, somehow me and Zach coined the phrase government list. I got a message the other day like, I would never trust the government. No, this is the one part where basically it's some sort of government service that puts somebody on a list. And all we're doing is identifying if there's smoke, there's fire. But it's easier to find the smoke than the fire. Your government list is the smoke. The other thing is, I always talk about ODN. ODN, it's an acronym. I love acronyms, MCTP, ODN. Everything on our government list I'm about to show you has the ODN. Off market, direct to seller, needs to sell. The need is the critical part.
Ooh, I like that.
These people have to sell. So if I told you the secret formula to getting the best wholesale deal is the acronym ODN, I'm going to show you without a doubt that every one of these I'm going to show you, they all meet that criteria. And our problem in wholesaling is a lot of times we're just meeting one out of the three criteria, and that's where most of you are struggling. So if you're not doing government list, pay attention to today's live stream. We're going to go in detail, step by step. Let's jump into it. So
let's break this all down. So first and foremost, what is the first list that we are going to be talking about? We'll have Mr. Handwriting over here write it.
Yeah.
Here, let's put that one in black so it's easier for people to see, and then we'll put red on the other ones.
Okay.
We got color coding it. So we are going to do the first one. Is going to be pre-foreclosures. So the first government list that we don't talk about is, I don't know if we have enough space, but we're going to try it out. Okay. Pre-foreclosures. Oh, boy.
Sorry about that.
So we're going to put it up here too. They are called pre-foreclosures. Now, pre-foreclosures are kind of what the word is. These are people basically, if I have to just kind of like use like a one sentence to describe what a pre-foreclosure is, a pre-foreclosure is basically a list of people not paying their mortgage. That is the best description of a pre-foreclosure. That's the best way that I can describe it. These are people usually 2, 3, 4 payments behind on their mortgage. They're not paying it. Now what happens here is the bank file something on public record saying, hey, this person is not paying me, and so in return, I need to take this house over. And they have to go through the legal process and legal maneuvers, and it's a lot of blah, 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 hoopla. I don't want to, confuse you or like, oh, wait, what is it? Was it here, right? So pretty much what happens is they stop paying their mortgage. They are going to get foreclosed on. But before they get foreclosed on, there's about a 2-3 month process called a pre-foreclosure. Now, I'm not going to confuse you. There's less penances. There's all these actions being taken up.
Oh, this is simple, right?
But it's pretty simple. I'll write this one. So, what's the resistance of a list like this? This is honestly one of the easiest lists. So 1 being easy, 10 being hard.
0, 1.
This probably is going to be like a 2. Like it's really easy.
And I'll show you why it's a 2 when I get to the request method.
Yeah,
because most of you guys asked for the wrong list.
It's pretty simple, right? I don't think anything's really a 1 because some counties are actually kind of difficult, like to get like just public record. But
So
really,
part of it
2.
is the people are difficult or is the process difficult?
Yeah.
And we'll share with you on that. So how to pull a list. This is like simple. The preferred method. So these are all, this is going to be at your county courthouse.
Yes. So
Okay.
it's called the clerk of the court, public record, whatever way you want to call it, or whatever way you want to chop it up and fry it out. That's it. The county courthouse.
So every county is going to have one. There's 3,300 counties. They're all going to be a little bit different. So this is what you need to do. So here's where we get in the nitty gritty on it. How do I request this list? So first of all, I'm going to split this in 2 methods. Because remember, a foreclosure is a public lawsuit. There's nothing they can hide. The whole purpose of a lawsuit is to make it public, to make sure all parties are represented, anyone who has a claim against the property. So when we make the initial request, if you ask for a pre-foreclosure, it's not going to work.
Oh.
Because they're like, I can give you the foreclosure. There's 3 houses going on the auction block tomorrow. Remember, foreclosure is the finality of it. You're doing everything beforehand. So when you do it, depending on where you are, there's 2 types you can ask for. You can ask for what we call an NOD, which is a notice of default. To be honest with you, it is golden. That is simply when the bank goes on record to say you're in violation of the terms of your mortgage agreement. And if you do not cure it quickly, we are going to move forward with a legal action. The next one, the legal action, is going to be what they call a lis pendens. Fancy legal word. This is why you got to hire lawyers for everything. These are the 2 lists you're requesting. Now, how do most people get them? A majority of the people get this online, or you can go in person. Because it's a public lawsuit, you should be able to get most of them online. Sometimes you have some challenging counties, but you guys are requesting NOD or a lis pendens. This is the earliest precursor. NOD is just an acronym for notice of default. And then lis pendens, sometimes they'll be marked LP. So when you ask this list, do not ask for pre-foreclosure. I need to get your most recent notice of defaults or your lis pendens open in the last 30 days. Everybody understand? And then ask how you can get access online. Once you do it once, you might have to go in person to figure out the process. This depends on what county you're in. Yes, guys, can you use services to pull these? You can. It's going to be extremely dated information. And remember, they're selling it to everybody across.
Heck, even XLeads. Like XLeads is probably the most accurate when it comes to pre-foreclosures. On average, it's going to be maybe like a month behind.
30 days.
That's not bad. Like, you remember, if you look at any of their software service, they're usually 45 to 50 days. We're pretty dang good, but like it's still 30 days, And so no knock on XLeads. XLeads got a lot of cool stuff. Like, guys, like you need to import those data into XLeads or TruePeople to get the skip tracing. But just telling you right now,
We got to keep moving.
like, okay.
There's
Geez,
a lot.
I love talking about government lists, right? If I talk about this whole thing I'm bringing people to this video. Hey, how do I pull a pre-foreclosure?
Yeah.
Boom, sent here. But on public records, yes, this is a public record. And one thing I will tell you, because it is a public lawsuit, it is going to be on the court dockets. Now you're like, wait, what in the world is a court docket? A court docket is basically a schedule of all the court cases in the future. They have to legally have court dockets public to everyone. For example, hey, my uncle is getting, he's on trial for a crime. What courtroom is my uncle in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a secret we can't tell you.
Yeah.
They have to tell you. Or if, let's say, some celebrity is getting sued and the reporter's like, what courtroom it is? legally they can't say it's a secret, I'm not telling you, because we're in the United States of America where you are being tried publicly. So anybody can actually go and see the trial themselves to make sure it's a fair and due process, which is in the Constitution. So we have to actually have you publicly know, hey, this guy's court case is this date on this date, this is the judge. So they actually have to let you know, because how do you know if this is not a sham trial or not?
Yeah.
You're actually allowed to go there and confirm it. So it's called the court dockets. Legally, they have to let you have that. Because it's a public record, if everyone's saying, oh, you can't find it, it is called the court dockets. So we got to make this a little different here, but it's pretty good, right? So
Yeah.
what are the best marketing channels for this?
So this is simple. The number one is always going to be reverse driving for dollars. It is an effective way to do a door-to-door pounding campaign, and you're basically sticking sticky notes on the door. I will tell you, if you're in a market where you're comfortable doing the door-to-door and you feel safe, you can do it. It's not overly effective because it takes so much time. By doing the sticky notes, in my opinion, is the most efficient way to do it. You can use softwares to help you out with it. It doesn't matter. The next one is going to be simple cold calling.
Well, texting.
Well, I know, but cold calling is a big part of it. And then we're also going to do,
Okay.
you can call it SMS text.
I wouldn't cold call it pre-foreclosure.
It's just cold calling is efficient, but you're going to have a
It
very
is a
low
way to do it,
connection
but
rate.
I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
That'd be
well,
me.
then-
Let's X that one out. Let's erase it real quick. I reverse this with something else.
Go ahead.
If I was going to reverse drive for dollars in Texas, those are my two top ones by far. Not even a question. But if I had to put a sticky note out or text, it's good. But this is a secret one. Because we can't cold call it, door knocking is actually, this is probably the best door knocking list by far.
Yeah.
And those would be the three. I know this handwriting.
Well, I looked at reverse driving for dollars as a technique of door knocking.
Yeah.
But listen, if you
True.
get a list of 20, 30 people that just got in a foreclosure, if I'm in a door knock, I'm going straight to the pre-foreclosure. In fact, that's how I got started.
Oh, yeah.
Some people call it high risk, high reward. Listen, you're a wholesaler. The only risk is when you don't take action. So if you're comfortable doing it, say you have a background in door-to-door sales, and remember, it's about being authentic. You are not selling them. You are solving a problem. You got to find out if they'll communicate to you. You got to get around the Ring doorbells. You got to get around the neighborhood dogs. And let's face it, not many people answer their doors anymore, and that's the challenge.
Exactly. So reverse drive out, door knock, or text are the best ways. Let's go through this a little fast. There's so many types of government lists. So I'll run through this one. One of my favorites, which is the evictions list. Now, can you describe the evictions, why I do this?
Yeah.
Okay, so the evictions, pretty simple. It's different than the tired landlord list, but this is a list of people that are evicting their tenants.
So a landlord has a property, a tenant stops paying, or maybe a tenant stops paying, increased damages, and they won't voluntarily leave, which is very common. And the landlord goes down to the court, and as long as he is the legal owner, he or she, they can file a lawsuit. And basically, it's a lawsuit to get them evicted out of the house. These are quite common depending on what state you're in. States like California and New York, these things can drag on a super long time. So number one, if you're going to pursue evictions, make sure you understand what the laws are in your state, and so you know the timeline. I'm in the state of Florida, which is one of the most landlord-friendly states. Guys, it's 20 days on average. If you do your paperwork properly and you work through a lawyer, you can have somebody out in under 30 days. I go to other states, some are 3 and 6 months, so you got to be familiar with that process. So what I want to do is we're simply going to go down to our courthouse. Now, the resistance level,
It's a little different because list pendants is actually pretty easy to find.
yeah.
The evictions, I can tell you some counties are different because some counties just have them as just like a regular lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like Rick Ginn versus John Smith. It's like, ooh. But some of them have like eviction as a type. Some are just Rick Ginn versus John Smith.
Yeah.
It's like for the consideration of 15 grand. And it's like, ooh, that gets a little more difficult. So what I'll tell you is most dockets, if you look at them, or most like court records, if the consideration of the lawsuit's under 25 grand, that's kind of where you're going. It's so different. Like it's not the easiest one, but some of them are easy. Now, you just find general lawsuits of like 2 individuals or an LLC. Evictions are going to be another one. You can go online, in person. That's how we do it. And Really, the marketing's going to be calling and texting. There's really going to be no good reverse drawing for dollars, unfortunately, or door knocking for an eviction because it's an absentee owner, which means the owner of the house doesn't live in the property. They live somewhere else. So not the best one for this. So I'll tell you is evictions is a pretty good one.
So to get clarification, you can go by your courthouse. It's always better in person and ask, how do I pull up landlords that are basically evicting their tenants? And there should be some sort of classification. Don't assume it, just ask. It's just much easier. So if you're a guy, just learn. You got to ask directions sometimes. I know we never do it. So I like evictions. I want the freshest ones. I'm going to give you a little cheat sheet on evictions. Like I'll give you right now, in the state of Michigan, they're required to put the landlord's phone number on the bottom of the complaint. It's unbelievable. I can't believe they do it. Understand most evictions, if you own a property in an LLC or a corporation, it is required by law to have an attorney do the eviction. So you can read through the classifications, but we found a cheat sheet in quite a few states that the cell number was right below the landlord's name, which back then was a big deal because you didn't have to skip trace it and you could just pick up the phone and call them right away.
On top of that too, if you want to look at like a big corporation, so find like the biggest like multifamily property in your city. So maybe there's like this big 400 unit complex in like Dallas, or like heck, you know who owns a lot of real estate? It's like BlackRock or whatever. Yeah. Find a big hedge fund, search the hedge fund on public record. It's usually going to be BlackRock versus John Smith. It's because they're evicting them, or like just a big fund. Usually a big landlord, you're going to find something like that.
Yeah. Okay. What's next? So you notice with Trim, we're dealing with the court system first. The next one we're basically going to do is probates. Woo! So now I should have put up a special another column after I think about this a little bit, but I'll share with you the insights. Probate's nothing more the process when somebody passes away and they own assets under their name and they're titled. So let me give you an example. If they own a car and they pass away and they have a title to it, you can't legally transfer the title without the owner's authorized signature. Obviously, if they're deceased, that's not possible. So they created a system called probates in the court system. And basically what it does is it recognizes their last will and testament. Usually there's a petitioner, which files, which says, I'm going to be the PR, which is the personal representative. Here's a little hint. That's the most responsible person in the family. And there's a reason they are in charge of the final finances. And then they distribute the assets. They decide to keep them. They decide to sell them. And then they divvy up to the heirs. If there's 4 people, they divide up the proceeds. Sometimes people keep real estate. Most often they sell it. My favorite thing about probates, they are a perfect beginner wholesale deal. Why? They go, Rick, I don't know how to do probates. I don't want you to know how to do probates. You have to learn how to connect with people on probates and connect with the PR or the executor. That's all you have to do. If you can master that skill set, you can make a ton of money. If you want to be the master of all trades and master probates, you're going to be studying it for 10 years and you're not going to make a dime. So we're going to recruit our title company. We're going to recruit a probate lawyer that works with the title company. Very clear, you do not need a lawyer to buy a property in probate. So if you want to learn more about it, go over to freewholesaling.com. Probates, here's why they're perfect, guys. They're vacant. They're typically outdated, deferred maintenance. And keep in mind, when somebody passes away, your job as a family member is to take care of the loved one. Stop worrying about the house. We'll deal with that later. You can't replace life. So a lot of times they put in special railings, especially in the bathrooms. They put it on the carpeting. I know I've done it. And when somebody passes away, then they got to deal with everything. And a lot of times it's overwhelming. We provide a service. Not everybody in probate is going to sell you it. But I will tell you, when I get a vacant property of an out-of-state owner that needs massive amount of repairs, these are set up for the absolute best deals humanly possibly. In fact, most of my 6-figure spreads have come directly from probate. So let's go through the process. Resistance level. Remember, this is just an opinion. You're going to get some resistance on probates. So I'm going to put that, what number would you put that at? I already got a number.
5.
Yeah. I said a 6. So
yeah.
Let's just call it a 6. Now, I'm going to go through this. How do I pull them? You go to your county probate. Everything's going to have county on it, so I'm not going to keep writing it over and over. There's a probate court. All they deal with is probates in your county. That's it. So we know we're going to the courthouse. How do I request it? Ooh, this is a good one. I will tell you, in person is best. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. Why? Because here's what they're going to do. We talk about public records, right? Is it a public record? Technically, yes. Your challenge is the privacy policy. Here's the truth, guys. There's a lot of data vendors that will send people out or try to get online access, gather that information and resell it. I'm all for it. But the problem is the privacy policy, they try to limit it. And this is the problem you have. Can you get these online? I do, but it's hard. Can you use a service to give you probate information? You can. I've tried them all. I promise you, you will cancel them all when you're said and done.
Yep.
They're unreliable, they're outdated, and they sell that information to everyone. Honestly, if you're going to do that, you can work within other platforms and get better information for an eighth of the cost. So understanding the only way to really get fresh probates is it always comes and derives from the courthouse. So if that's your focus and mission, listen, for 2 years, I went to the courthouse twice a week until I got so good at probates. Do I do that as much? No, I have other people that do it for me, and I use services that are a compromise. I get convenience, but I don't get the information as quick. Here's the secret to probates. Whoever gets in contact with the PR or the executor first has the best shot humanly possible. Rick, how do I get in touch with them? I am so glad you asked. The best thing you can do is a letter. Now, if you go into freewholesaling.com, I provide you a template letter. It is proven. I've made millions of dollars on this letter. It works. It took me 1.5 years to perfect this letter. Put a little bit of your spin on it. I don't need everybody sending out the same letter. Rick, why do we use letter? That's slow direct mail. Because it works. It works. Who do I send the letter to? You send it to the PR. Your job is to find out who the PR is on the docket, and you're going to have to find the docket once again. And remember, every county is different. You can ask people on this live stream. It is a little bit frustrating, but the profit potential, probates by far are the highest profit potential of everything. I'm going to show it to you on here. How else can I market it to them? Cold calling actually works. I call it kind of warm calls. But keep in mind, I never cold called until Zach got started in my company. He says, Dad, why don't we cold call the probates? I go, I don't know. He goes, if you don't do it, other people are going to help them out and we offer the best service. So I said, hey, it works. Some people respond to the cold call, some do the letter. Do text work? Text are not very effective because they just don't like it. So I do the McDonald's, Burger King approach, but I like to do the letter and I like to follow it up with a cold call. How long do we do this? Like, guys, if they don't respond in 2 letters and 2 or 3 cold calls, I'm done. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I know there's so many gurus out there who tell you, just keep pounding and whoever spends the most on marketing, whoever spends the most on marketing just spends the most money. It doesn't always mean you're going to get a great return on it. Do not overlook the probates because I give it a 6. Here's the key, guys. To overcome resistance, you have to use persistence. You have to stay in the lane. And you just have to say, you have to be nice to them and you have to keep coming back. I teach you the volley method. Don't use good cop, bad cop in the courts. This works unbelievably. Next, I got a lot to get through here. This honestly is probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest lists. I don't know if I can fit it in here. Tax delinquency. And this is simply people that are behind on their property taxes.
Different than the liens.
Different than the liens. So this is kind of what we call, if you have a pre-foreclosure, you could call this a pre-tax deed sales certificate, however your state titles it. So I'll give you a quick crash course on how property taxes works. Taxes come due, say theoretically it comes due at the end of the year. They usually give a 3 to 5 month window to get the bill paid. After that, there's interest penalties, late payments, whatever it is. And after the period, if it's 3 months or 6 months, so the county can function, they issue tax certificates. They sell it to people like you and me, and we bid the interest rate. So they start at like 20%, and some people go down to 2%. That's absolutely nuts. It's not a bad return, but it's guaranteed money. And then that person has a lien on the property, and it functions so the counties and the cities can get the tax collected, and they pass the debt off to somebody else, and then eventually that certificate holder can file a foreclosure. Every state's different. It's usually around 2 years. So my sweet spot, are these hard to get? I'm going to put this at a 6.2. These used to be really easy to get. I used to go down to the tax collector's office, which is, how do we pull this? This is typically derived from your tax collector office. If you don't know where that is, just look where the DMV is, and it's usually associated with it. It's also anywhere where they do like county building permits, not city building permits. Now, how do I request this method? This is a debate, and it's constantly changing. Back when I first started, I just went in person, and then I would do it on a thumb drive. Now, occasionally they will do email, but it's rare. Some of you guys are fortunate enough that on virtual, you've figured it out. Sometimes you have to start out in person, and then you might be able to get it online. Or as I said, you could also do email as well too. How you get this is the big debate. You're gonna have to sweet talk some people, and your biggest problem, is this public record? Yes or no? It is. But once again, your biggest issue is the privacy policy. And this is the one that you're gonna have to navigate around. You're gonna hear a theme when we talk about these privacy policies are ridiculous. When they go, well, you gotta meet with the city attorney, you go, is he ready right now? Is he or she ready? Don't run from it. Most people run. They're expecting you to duck and run when they give you any resistance, but you have training with us to overcome resistance. You beat it with persistence. So how do I market with tax delinquency? This is pretty much wide open. I always love reverse driving for dollars. You can do the door knock, kind of the same thing, just more one-on-one. Text works well. You can do cold calling, but it's a very, very low response rate. These people are avoiding bills on it. And then some people like to do mail. Once again, that's a low priority. And you can use a catch-all in the mail. But if I had to do it, reverse driving for dollars, door knocking, texting, cold calling, the results are pretty low. And then some people do direct mail with it. Don't start out doing direct mail. We're trying to give you ways to access the highest motivated sellers that need to sell their house with little to no cost. And we need to understand that when we do that. So
on top of that too, like some of these are a little different. So for example, the tax collector might just give you the list. That is a very, very, very common thing. Maybe it's like 50-50, the chance you can do it from there. But like the tax collector, DMV sometimes does it, but mostly it's the tax collector that collects the property taxes, and they have a list like Santa Claus of people paying or not paying. Helping a couple people in the Discord, there's actually a couple people that like have actual like online, right? It says taxes paid or unpaid, and you can export that data. One really big tip here I can tell you too is this is like a sometimes, so we're gonna go out here and look at the tax rolls. I'd be like, what in the world is a tax roll? A tax roll is basically an entire data set from the tax collector of every single property in an Excel sheet that the tax collector collects property taxes on, or every single property that is listed inside of the county. They actually have a list of it. And usually if you can export that data online on the tax collector or the property appraiser, that's pretty cool. On top of that too, there's usually, most of the time, there is a little section called taxes paid, yes or no. And it'll tell you for the current year or previous year if they are behind or they did pay their property taxes. And that will show you a tax delinquency. Now, let me make the next one here. And I'm going a little out of order, but it's definitely the same one. It would be like a tax lien list, okay? So let's just do liens in general because I think, you know, for the sake of time and the sake of making everyone normal, liens. So you might be like, Zach, what's the difference between a tax delinquency and a tax lien? Well, usually if somebody doesn't pay their property tax for a year, so currently, you know, if it is 2025, property taxes are due some states, like in my local area, it's due November, right, of 2024 is when the previous one is due. So what I'm gonna tell you right now is exactly, so if November 2024 is when the previous taxes were due, if it's December and they're not paid, it's the tax delinquency, right? So another example here is if, you know, somebody hasn't paid their taxes in 2 years, it is delinquent for 2 years. Now, now the process goes, it's delinquent, then it turns into a lien. Usually after the second or third failed tax payment, the county puts a lien on the property. And okay, we have over 3,000 counties in the United States, so it's like they're all a little different. Some of them are like, well, we're just going to sell the lien. So we're going to sell you the property for how much the lien is, or and then the auction, they get the proceeds, and you can buy back the tax lien. They all get really confusing. Look at your local county. But usually a lien is recorded. That's pretty much the big difference. This one's kind of solid 3, maybe a 4. Liens are pretty simple to find. The reason they're simple to find is usually someone puts a lien and they want you to know there's a lien on the property. Usually, if I put a lien on someone's house, they want to make it very clear. Now, the reason why liens are so easy is, I hate to say this, it's really easy to put a lien on someone's house. Like, for example, if Rick's not watching, I could put a $50,000 lien on his house tomorrow. Like, I can do it. Now, does that mean automatically I get 50 grand from him? No, because he's going to sue the snot out of me, and he's going to prove that no, he doesn't have any justification for that lien. What's the best example of this? These are mechanics liens. We have had, me and Ray, we've had people on our properties give us quotes. We don't go with their quote. They slap a $10,000 mechanics lien because it cost what, 50, 100 bucks to do? And they think 10% of them are going to pay it. I have a $10,000 lien on your house, so you have to go with my bid. And these are big bids me and Rick do, like $150,000, $200,000 bids on properties. Some of these guys are so slimy, they'll put a mechanics lien on the house and say, well, I put a lien on it. The only way you take the lien off is if you pay me. And they don't understand that me and Rick know what we're doing. We just say, okay, well, we're going to sue you for damages. And then they get a lawyer and they get a lawyer letter and they go all freaked out. But like, the thing is, anyone can put a lien on anyone's house. Now, if it's enforceable, you have to go to the courts and do all that stupid stuff. But liens are actually really easy to put on someone. It's just if it's enforceable. And so there's actually pretty easy to find. Now, how do you find it? It's pretty much at the courthouse. I'll also put, quote public records, and it's kind of like a, like we all say public records here and there, pretty much online and in person. Now, I want to make you very, very clear. Some of these lists are going to be a lot different than others. For example, hey, Miss Clerk of the Court, nice to meet you. I need to get the pre-foreclosure list. What? What are you talking about? We don't have that. Okay. And then you go behind your computer. Zark's stupid. His information doesn't work. I'm going to wholesale MLS. That's usually the quotes I get. Do not say, I want to get a pre-foreclosure list. If you're going to talk to a nice lady at the clerk of the court, say, hey, can I get a list of all of the list pendants or notice to defaults? That's what you got to do. Evictions. That's pretty easy. Can I get a list of all the eviction, basically, filings? That makes sense. You got to speak their language, right? If you go to, Guatemala and then you start speaking, French, it ain't going to work. That's not their language. So you got to speak the language of where you're at. And where you're at is the courthouse. In their country, they only speak certain language. They only speak of certain things, right? Probates. You can kind of get away with probates. Can I get all the probate filings? That's the best way to do it. And so what I want you to understand is you don't go to the courthouse for a tax delinquency, right? So it doesn't say courthouse on this, right? The tax collector. If you go to the courthouse, say, give me a tax delinquency, they're going to be like, we don't have tax delinquency. What are you talking about? They might try to show you tax liens, but they have no tax delinquencies. Tax collector does. Just make that very clear. Also, fun fact about tax liens, the tax collector has a record of all the liens they put on people. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You can actually get both of them. And what I want everyone to understand here, because why I'm going so nitty-gritty in depth today, is because, sometimes we just got to make videos like this. Sometimes the tax collector says, F you, I don't want you to get the tax delinquency. They'll just give you a tax lien list and think you're stupid. So make sure you get both of them. It's a pretty good one. Is it public record, the liens? Of course. There's really no privacy on this. They're pretty simple to do. Cool part about liens is any software is going to have liens and any software is going to have the pre-foreclosures pretty much. So it's pretty good. Remember, with most softwares, like on XLeads, we have a tired landlord list. It is different than the evictions list, right? Tired landlord is just an algorithm, people that own rental properties for a while, different than the actual evictions. Liens, reverse drawing for dollars works, texting works, calling them works. Kind of all the above for liens. The only one that's very specific is calling pre-foreclosures and maybe the evictions a little bit if you get the wrong person, but liens are pretty much simple to do. Now, the next one are one of my favorites. I call these code violations. Now, the reason code violations work so much are these are people that have ugly houses that are against the code for the city. So, for example, there are certain rules in your city. I know this sounds crazy. Like, I didn't even know this was a real thing until I got into real estate. And you're probably going to be like, what? Are you serious? You know there's rules for the city that your grass can't be too high? There's rules that your house can't have mold on it. There's rules that you can't have too many cars parked in front of that. I don't like rules. I'm not a rule guy. I am not the rule dude. But it's an insane rule, but it's a real rule that you can't have all this crazy things. So code violations, I'm going to put them at a solid 5. Sometimes it's a 7. Sometimes it's like a 10. But really, I'm going to put it like a 5. You know, the thing is, there's really no 10 level government list. They're all done, and I haven't had someone not be able to get them. There's one we'll talk about later, but code violations are going to be a 5. You get this from the Code Enforcement Department. Now, sometimes they're called neighborhood services, but pretty much it's called code enforcement. You go online, sometimes you get it via email, but 90% of the time you're going to have to go in person. I know that sucks, but you usually get a list doing that. Is it a public record? No. So this is the first one where it's like, wait, what? These aren't usually publicly on record. So I can't go to the courthouse and get this list. It's a private list. But it's pretty cool because if somebody's grass is too tall, usually someone calls and they complain because it's an eyesore and they get a $30 a day fine. Some of these properties accrue $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 fines. Heck, shout out to Joseph. He's actually getting his first deal. You remember Joseph, the teacher, not a teacher, but he works in education. He was at the event. He is set to close, hopefully, his first deal for $10,000. Pretty dang cool. And he actually did this from the code violations. I actually talked to him yesterday. And the funny thing is, he has a seller who has I believe, a $7,000 code violation on the property. Guess what? Us real estate investors know how to deal with this. If you dealt with a realtor, guess what happened? Oh, you just got to pay it. Well, us real estate investors, we know we can actually negotiate code violations. The government never negotiates on anything, but they'll negotiate on these for some reason. So you can actually usually, if there's a $10,000 code violation, you can tell the seller, hey, how about I pay for the code violation and you pay for this price? The reason you say that is because, say, okay, you want to sell for 110. How about I just buy it for 100,000 and then I pay the $10,000 code violation? So it's really 110 to you. The seller's like, yeah, what a deal! Here's the cool part you can do. You can actually go to code enforcement when you get the deal locked up and say, hey, we need to cut this down by half and I'll pay it right now. And they're like, really? Yeah. They're like, okay, fine. Boom. Now you just made an extra $5,000 at closing. Boom. Right? Work smart, not hard. That's why code violations are pretty dang cool. But yeah, they're not public record. Pretty much I'm going to put all of the above. And I'm not saying that to be cute or anything, but really any type of marketing is going to work. These are just ugly houses. There's so much money to be made there. Absolutely love code violations. Now, the next two ones we're just going to talk about, these are probably some of the hardest ones to get, but there's a reason why. And I guarantee you have not pulled this list, so take note and do it.
Okay, so let me...
I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
So the next one is going to be one of the favorite ones, the water shutoffs. And this list is exactly what it says. It is a list from the water department of people who've had their water shut off. Rick, why do I want the water shut off? Guys, listen, if I shut the water off in your house, does that indicate a problem? Obviously, there's a financial problem. Nobody willfully, wantingly shuts off their water. Who shuts off the water? Number one, it's usually people that are having significant financial problems. The last thing, in my opinion, you ever want to shut off in your house is the water. Which is more important, the electric or the water? I don't need to get into graphic explanation. You make the decision. You cannot function. You cannot use toiletries. You can't use running water. You can't take a shower. The list goes on and on. Now, sometimes these can be part of evictions. Laws are very clear that landlords cannot shut off utilities, especially in the wintertime in certain states. So a lot of times it comes down to financial. Listen, guys, I'm not I am targeting people on this list, but they need help. If you can't pay your water bill, which is typically under $100, don't worry about paying the rent. Don't worry about paying the mortgage. Don't even worry about the electric. That property 9 times out of 10 needs to be sold. End of story. The only exception is people who winterize their homes. I'm not familiar with that in Florida, but that's the truth. This is the challenge. What's the level of resistance? Well, you all want to mark it like 10 right off the bat. So I'm never going to give you the 10. The 10 is inside your head. You have to ask. If you get rejected, if you asked, you did your job. I'm going to put the resistance right around a 7.5, maybe even call it an 8. There's a reason for it. I'm going to show you why. How do I pull this list? Very simple. You have to go to your utility company that runs the water in your, now a lot of times it's cities, guys. It's not a county. Sometimes there is a county. And most of the time, these are run by the cities because they feel they can be more efficient. They can provide safer, cleaner water, and they believe they can put price controls in there. I'm not going to get into that debate, but so how do I request this? So most people are going to make a phone call to the utility department. Some people are going to go in person, which usually doesn't go well, or you're going to send an email. Rick, how do I send an email? Just go into your AI, your ChatGPT, whatever method you want to use, Bard, Gemini, and just construct a quick email. And as bad as you think you write it, it'll clean it up for you. It's absolutely amazing. And just do the request. Here is the key. Is it a public record? That depends. It's going to be a yes, or it's possibly going to be a no. Here's the key is you have to ask. Your public utility company has to be public to even have a shot at these records. If it's privately owned, like a corporation, and it's not publicly traded, odds are you're not going to get the records. Remember, guys, if you don't ask, you don't get. This is why you all think it's like a 25 when it comes to resistance. I get it. It's a major pain in the ass. It is a high failure rate, meaning if I ask 10 utility companies, maybe 1 or 2 of them gives it to me. That's just the numbers. We struggle in our own counties in our area. Some of you guys get it. I'm telling you, it's one of the hottest lists you can get. And then even if you get too public, you're going to have to deal with the privacy policy. And honestly, you're just going to have to sweet talk your way around this. You kill people with kindness. You do not threaten them. The old days, I used to teach you how to pull a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act. Don't even bother. It's an empty threat. They know it. And who wants to wait 6 months to a year to get that data? It'll be so outdated, they'll just play with you. So you're better off being kind to them. Marketing channel, very, very simple. The marketing channel I like to do is a combination of cold calling. You can do door knocking, but it's very risky in my opinion. Some people do mail, but I find texting to be one of the best strategies. And listen, you guys don't need these massive texting platforms. I know it's been shoved down your mouth by the gurus for the last probably 7 years, but the reality is you can go in your Google Voice and you can one-off these. It's not that big of a deal. And what I would do is just tell you to work within X leads to get that information. Because here's the key is you get their email in there, you get their phone number, you have enough to get it going. Now remember, some of these are absentee owners, some of them are homeowners. We have no idea. Remember, where there's smoke, there's fire. I absolutely love water shutoffs. A lot of times this 8 number intimidates you guys and you make it like 25 in your head. Get it out of your head. Ask for it. If you don't ask for it, I guarantee you the answer is no. And you have to understand that. The next one, which I love, and I found this one by accident, is arrest records. Now I'm going to tell you, it's not the funnest one, but keep in mind, people all the time get accused of crimes, either guilty or not guilty. I'm not here to make judgment on people, even in the slightest. But people get arrested that own property, that get incarcerated, they have to make a decision with the house. 9 times out of 10, they sell the house. But Rick, how do I find these people? This seems like crazy. It's simple. I'm going to show you. What is the resistance level? I'm going to tell you the resistance level on this is about a 2.5. And I'd give everything a 2 just out of like people don't even want to turn on the computer. So if you can turn on the computer and get through that other half click, how do I pull this list? Most likely you're going to pull it. If you have a sheriff that runs your county, that is the absolute best one. I'll put on here county, or it's going to be a city police department. Now, we all agree When people get arrested, is it public, yes or no? Yes, because this is why you see everybody's mugshot when they do it. Nobody likes the picture of it. And remember, everyone's innocent till the day they're proven guilty. How do I request this? Almost everything you do is going to be online. And all you have to do is go online to your sheriff or police department, and the arrest records are there. And the purpose of this, sometimes you have to go through one-off, but listen, every day they have to, depending on what the police department's policy is, they have to post everything. That's a great way to keep track of your community. So who am I looking for? Most importantly, you've got to understand this. Not everybody arrested is a good candidate, and not everyone arrested owns a piece of real estate. But I'm going to find people that get DUIs, and I'm looking for multiple and battery and kind of like a petty theft. Why? Because these are the habitual offenders. What happens when you get arrested the first time DUI? You get a big, massive fine, you get a day in court, and you get a massive probation. If you do it again, you're going to jail for 30 to 365 days, and you're under strict probation. You're going to lose your driving privileges. And then guess what? If you go through it again and you get arrested the third time, you can go away for 5 to 7 years. Those are the most common people we deal with. Now, it's different every state. I'm not here to quote the law, but the more you get caught with a DUI, the stiffer the penalty should be. It should be. We don't need anybody getting killed needlessly out there. But these are the ones that do it. There's a whole list of types to do it. You need to look for people that commit felonies because you have to be incarcerated. So jaywalking and stuff like that, it has to be a criminal offense and it has to be a felony, because if you're going to go away to jail for 12, 18 months or longer, it's got to be a pretty serious offense. So don't waste your time on the low-level stuff and like tracking them. And then once you find they're on that report, you just cross-reference it to the property appraiser's records to see if they match up. If that's bingo, and you move forward. Is this public record? Absolutely yes. There's no question on this. How do I connect with them? Once again, reverse driving for dollars is always going to be the defunct one. I'm not going to tell you the door knock just out of the safety for the ladies out there. But I will tell you, for some reason, they absolutely love text. You could do cold call. You could even do mail. But I will tell you, text is a big one. It is a big one. I like to reverse driving dollars. You stick a note on there. It's not risky, and as opposed to, I'm going to keep away from door knocking because, number one, I want everyone to be safe. So it's not the end of the world, but like I wouldn't recommend and tell you to do it unless you're all 100% comfortable. I think reverse driving for dollars is easier, and just have a conversation with them. Honestly, they're some of the most motivated people you'll ever deal with. So I love the arrest records. I love the water shutoffs. And then I'm going to go straight up to the next one while we're rolling here. Fire damaged. Now you all have heard this before. This is simply properties that catch on fire, that the local fire department shows up. It could be county, city. Once again, you guys should all be familiar with the firehouses in the markets that you work in, either locally or virtually. How hard is this list to get? I'm going to give it a 3.5 because the fire department's never the problem. How do I pull the list? You just request it from the fire department. Now you're going to have to be tactful how you ask for it, and you're going to ask for the most recent reports of incidents. Fire. How? In the last 30 days. Guys, do not complicate this. And by the way, God bless anybody who's a firefighter out there, because it's a job that they don't get a lot of credit for. They're willing to risk their own life to help people out. So please don't give a firefighter a hard time. They're just doing their job. They're getting more and more requests because of people like me and Zach. I do apologize in advance. But once again, I want to help people out that have houses. Now, most fires either start simply in the kitchen or the bathroom. Most of them are contained. And we're looking for people that want to sell those houses. And those are the ones that we absolutely want. So how do we request them? You can do it on the phone. You can do it online maybe, but doubtful. And you can always do it in person. You're going to have to be very tactful in person because these people have a job to do. They have to be on standby, and you have to understand that. Is this public record? Technically, yes. But once again, you're going to have to navigate through the privacy policy part, and that's the challenge. What's the best way to connect with a fire damaged property? Honestly, I like a cold call, a text. Reverse driving for dollars is not going to work for obvious reasons because usually they're not living in the property depending on the damage of it. The mail, a lot of them don't even have a mailbox. So I like cold calling and I like texting. But guys, remember, if you don't ask for these lists, it doesn't matter what I rank the resistance level is. Most of you are intimidated just by asking. And me and Zach are giving you honest feedback of where you're going to hit the roadblocks on it. If you go out and ask for all these lists and you get 3 of them, that's great.
Well, we got one more to share.
Yes.
Really quick, and that's going to be the divorce list. My least favorite out of all these. It is one, it's 3. You get this basically from the courthouse. Not my favorite. Basically, in person or online, they're pretty easy to get. Yes, it is completely public, and pretty much you can call or text this list. Divorces, both decision makers hate each other, so it becomes very, very, very difficult. But these are pretty much all of them. I got Rick to do one surprise thing for everyone because I think this is the biggest issue we get. I'm seeing a bunch of people like asking about this, right? It's like, okay, well, they said no, they're not giving it to me. What do I do? So I just give up? Do I go on the ball? What do you do? Because you're very good with this, and so you always got your line. So how do you do this?
So my simple saying is overcome resistance with persistence. Persistence. Some of you mistake it as running people over. You can't. You just have to keep engaging, understanding these are regular employees in your communities or the communities you invest in, and they're just doing their job. 9 times out of 10, they're just doing what their boss says. So remember, if you ever want to get past the gatekeeper, which is the employee, you have to win them over. You're going to use the same techniques you use with motivated sellers. You're going to have to build rapport and connect with them. Look around, look at pictures. Every government workstation I ever say they got a picture of their kids, their dogs, their family, or their favorite sports team or paraphernalia, whatever it is. Use it to your advantage. So if you start getting resistance, start complimenting people. Do not attack them. Oh my God, your hair looks so nice today. Hey, happy Friday. You've got to engage them and talk to them. And so, Rick, what do I do when someone just says, no, you're not getting it? You got a choice. You can either turn around and tuck your legs, go out between that door. Honestly, you're not going to make it as a wholesaler if that's your attitude. It's okay. You're going to have to prepare yourself. One of the methods I teach you is kind of use the volley method. Hey, Tristan, I understand you can't give me the list directly. What can I do to get that list? And just re-ask the question nicely. By the way, I love what you've done with your hair. Is that what is it you're doing? It's like, I got to talk to my wife because her hair doesn't look like that. And once you can give the flattery and the compliment, and they know you're trying to work with them, if you try to run them over, you're going to get killed on it. Does it guarantee you're going to get it 100% of the time? No. Some of my old school tactics when I first started doing this, my code violations, I would bring a dozen donuts. And why? Because the lady goes, there's nothing better than a donut in my life. I showed up the next day with a dozen Dunkin' Donuts. I never had an issue after that. People with animals and dogs, they will bend over backwards. Once they know that you're not a threat to them and you're a real person and you want to help them out, they have the key to get into the gate. You have to charm the gatekeeper to get there. Are you going to get it 100%? No. But if you don't try, you can't cry. Do we understand that? If you don't try, you can't cry. You've got to request. Me and Zach have never got every list. But if I work through it, I'll get 3 lists, then I'll pick away 1, I'll get another one, and then I'm just going to keep picking away. Now, if you get someone that just roadblocks you, ask to speak to somebody else in the company nicely, maybe a manager, supervisor, and if not, recircle your wagons. Have you ever lost your keys and you look so hard and after a while you go, hey, I'm just going to give up, I'm going to stop. And then you give yourself a 15-minute break and you try, oh, the keys are sitting right there on the desk. This is the same way. Sometimes you got to pull back and go with a different method. So
that's it. So I know Rick's got to run to a meeting,
yeah.
but
you got it?
Oh yeah. I want to get you on a hot mic though. Get you on there. But yeah. So let's keep talking about here. Okay. Government lists, I could talk about these all day, but let's kind of get more nitty gritty what to do with this data, right? So these are the government lists. So I'm going to give everyone a second to kind of screenshot this for kind of a minute. But these are all of them, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're just going to do the top 10 for now. Make it pretty simple. Make it very, very easy. I don't think there's any way to really screw this up. But these are going to be the 10 that I'm telling you to be going after here and doing. Now, the most important part, it's like, okay, well, now I got all this data. What do I do with it? Well, we already kind of see, right? Well, what's the marketing channel, right? We know we got to put sticky notes out, we got to call them, we got to text them, got to do all these things. One quick thing I could tell you, okay? And let me kind of erase the bottom part just so it's a little easier for everyone. But it's like, well, what's kind of the last piece of the puzzle here with government data? So you're probably pulling the government list because you're trying to get your first deal, right? And so you're most likely going to have to call or text somebody. That's kind of like the beginning of the name of the game. I'm going to tell everybody that cyberbackgroundchecks.com and True People Search are the best ways. So the first one is cyberbackgroundchecks.com. This is one of the best absolute free ways to find somebody's phone number absolutely for free. So if you're looking to get the data and you want their phone number, cyberbackgroundchecks.com. Number 2 here is going to be truepeoplesearch.com. So really, if you don't know how to skip trace them or get their phone number, these are the 2 I'm going to be doing. On top of that, I've been challenging everybody for a while now, and shameless plug, but honestly, no, this is my gift to you, okay? I'll tell everyone to get 1,000 free skips in bulk. If you haven't done it, it's free skips at xleads.com. If you go to xleads.com, just go to basic plan, click sign up. You get a 7-day free trial. You can cancel anytime you want, but you can bulk import 1,000 records. So you just go to the import, 1,000 records of all these. You'll get it exported 1,000 for free. You have my word. You'll be able to get 1,000 and then cancel, email billing at xleads and cancel your account. I could, whatever. But doing that will give you 1,000 free skips at xleads. So I'll write that there for a second for everybody. But this is my gift to everyone. 1,000 free skip traces at xleads.com. So all you gotta do is get a free trial on the basic plan, and you're gonna be able to get 1,000 free skip traces. The reason I'm saying that is not for you to want to sign up for xleads. Number 1, it's just because I am giving that gift to everybody who's watching this. I'm giving everybody the gift of 1,000 bulk skip traces for free at xleads. So you can get the best data, so you can test it out, and honestly, at the end of the day, I'm really sick of all these companies trying to sell you skip tracing, so I'm just going to give it out for free. So 1,000 free skip traces at xleads, that is our free trial for it. And then email billing at xleads.com to cancel it if you don't want to keep it. But that is my gift to you guys. Call me Santa Claus. But those are the 3 ways to get phone numbers for free. And shameless plug, I am saying it's free because it's 1,000 free. You can cancel on billing, and yeah, it's fine. So yeah, this is how we do it. So from the top, pre-foreclosures, evictions, probates, tax delinquencies, liens, code violations, water shutoffs, arrest records, fire robberies, divorce. These 2 websites for free skip tracing, bulk imported on xleads. What more can a man want? What more can a lady want to make money wholesaling real estate? Now, the last part is, and I think one of the most common questions I get asked is like, whoa, Zach, in the world did Rick do here? Is, okay, I know I got to go after these, right? But how many leads do I have to do to get a deal? How much work do I have to put in? So I'm going to just use like 6 examples here so we can roughly figure out what we got to do. And what I mean by this is, how much contacts or how much work do I have to do to get a deal usually on these platforms, right? On these things. So let's see. There you go. Number 1, probates. I have found on average, if you can get in front of 500 contacts on a probate, you'll get a wholesaling deal. That's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. Whoa, that's a lot. So if you were able to get in front of 500, so calls, text, emails, I don't know, probate mailers, whatever you want, you will get a wholesaling deal. For code violations, I found about 750 contacts. So not that bad, could be better, but that's on average. About 1,000 liens, I'd call those or text them. Evictions, about 700. 450 pre-foreclosures. It's actually pretty dang low, but it is hard to get so it's very difficult to get in front of a pre-foreclosure. That is why there's not that much. It is very difficult to get in front of the pre-foreclosure, but once you do, boom, it's good. And then fire damage probably about 500. It's a little more difficult to get in front of them. Then you're pretty much going to be good to go. So that is exactly how much on average work you have to do. Now, compare this to like a high equity list on like xleads, right? You're going to have to do 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 texts. And you're told that like, guys, don't call because you have to do 5,000 calls to get a deal. That is true if you use just a regular old software. But if you're able to pull a government list, upload that inside of xleads or whatever, It's only going to take 500 to 1,000. That is the benefit of going after government lists. That's why I'm so passionate about it. And most importantly, that's why I'm so passionate about it for beginners getting started in wholesaling real estate. This is the path. This is the key. This is how we do it. So that is exactly the top government lists for real estate wholesaling. These are the top lists to get started in wholesaling real estate. There's some other like free ones that aren't from the government, but this is government list, how to get deals. This is it step by step.